The vote, November
Right,
21.
right, goes back to that point, that point in time. So GCOM should have had,
Which in fact is 47 days.
right.
Which is 47 days. So does that bear on you as you think?
GCOM has a constitutional responsibility, I want to say that, to be ready to hold the elections within the prescribed period that the Constitution requires.
Yes.
It is their constitutional obligation to be able to hold those elections once the president calls for the election. The president has a constitutional responsibility to call elections within those 90
Yes.
days. So both have constitutional
Yes.
responsibility.
But the president will still rely on GCOM's readiness because he will inquire from GCOM their state of readiness.
But Jerry,
to
it
set
is
the
not.
date.
It is not conditional. The provision of the Constitution is not conditional.
That is correct.
It's absolute.
No, but what I mean is whether the elections were going to be on the 10th of March or the 20th of March or the I mean, it would, GCOM would still have to say we are ready for this date.
What we're really saying is there is no legal reason why GCOM should not be ready at any time.
That's
within
correct.
those 90
And on
days.
practical terms, today is 84 days, Jerry.
But coming back to the issue with the opposition and the two-thirds majority, so GCOM need to be able to convince the opposition that whatever their limitations are, whatever is preventing them from being ready, the opposition have to be able to accept that as legitimate to then agree to the two-thirds majority. And if they don't,
But the opposition would want to be assured that the government is not acting outside of its bounds. For example, no cabinet subcommittee can now operate because there's no cabinet. If the larger unit falls,
Yeah.
the smaller unit falls. No, and this one should be particularly of concern to the private sector. There is no contract over $15 million that can now be awarded because under the Procurement Act, the cabinet has a specific function. So
The cabinet simply isn't functioning.
it doesn't exist.
Right.
So
But you
Mo-
see,
Mo-
the great danger, and is why I agreed to come on this program,
yes,
is the deliberate
it was conditional, he's saying.
is the deliberate position that I hear too many spokespersons for the government taking, that none of this matters until the appeals are heard.
Yeah, the president said, look,
And that is very dangerous. The president hasn't quite said that.
he is quoted as
But he-
saying there is a legal, I am president.
but he is president.
No.
The president
and,
is actually
and the
in-
government,
In my view,
but I mean,
because
let
there
me
is
hear
an appeal process.
Chris, in my
The
view,
appeal
I don't
process
believe
does.
the president has said anything that he can be pinned down as wrong. But it's impressions, and politics are all about
But he's
impressions.
president of the ministers who are making these statements.
Yes, he is. And he's in fact,
And he ought to bear
he's
responsibility.
president of the office of the president
Yes.
that made the statement.
He's president of the country. And now,
So
my thing.
his ministers, one in particular, and his office have made erroneous statements, and he has not corrected it. And that's
Does he have a duty to correct them?
Of course he does. He is at the end of the day where the buck stops, as one famous American president once said.
Now, if we have this extension, and that's an if because it does require, would it be reasonable to expect that the government would accept certain conditions and it's not business as usual?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, the government is saying it's business as usual. It can do whatever any government does. The opposition is
But we
saying,
know that it can't,
well, so I'm asking you
under the law.
under the law. I'm asking you whether it would be a reasonable proposition for the opposition party in government to insist, as a condition for that extension, to insist that the government recognizes its own limitation. It may not want to accept its lame duck, it may not want to accept its caretaker. That's true. But the fact is, it has limited capacity at this stage.
I believe this. I believe that if it turns out that the election must be held, within the 90 days, and there's no, and let me put it differently. If it turns out that GCOM were to say to the nation and to the president, we need a bit more time for A, B, C, and D reasons, say a month or two, I think it would be reasonable then for the opposition to say, fine, we'll give it to you.
Without conditions?
I don't know that they need to set any conditions except that the law must be observed. and
That's
the election must be
no.
held.
Well, the condition is that the statements by ministers, oh, it's business as usual, and we will award contracts, as is happening. Cabinet has been meeting. That's a fact.
Well, that would be another matter, Chris. Surely it would be that after the elections are held, if perchance the opposition were to win them, they would be within their rights to reject anything that was decided illegally.
But it's not them. It's as much the private sector. Now you have people who are bidding for contracts. You have advertisements for contracts. Tenders being put out
Where
there.
the private sector is concerned, we want to see the law observed.
And I think that is the bottom line.
So,
we
which
want
includes
law
calling
and
a
order.
halt to these contracts.
That is the law, then it should be observed.
Should be observed. And then it brings us to March 21st.
Yes.
If the Parliament did not approve the extension,
Because
they-
now I should ask this. Sorry, Jerry, to interrupt you. Is there a schedule of meetings between the president and the opposition to resolve these unresolved issues?
Well, we don't know that. It would be,
And ought there not to be?
if we were sufficiently sophisticated politically, and if we cared sufficiently about the well-being and good order of our country, then there should be a schedule of meetings. And those two gentlemen should be meeting on a regular basis and coming to a decision which respects the Constitution and respects the law.
Do you get a sense of urgency from the government and the president on that the clock is in fact ticking?
It goes back to what I said at the very beginning. We have a party in power that wishes to remain in power, and they will exercise every means at their disposal. I was once a member of a cabinet. I know how it works. They
But
will
not
ex-
one facing a successful
Right,
no
but
confidence
still
motion.
it's a principle of being in office.
Yes.
It is the gravamen of being in politics. You're in politics to be in power. And if you're out of
Legitimately.
Yes,
Legitimately.
power, within the law, always within the law.
No, but my question was to Jerry. Does he, as chairman of this governance committee, do you see that urgency being demonstrated either by the president or his government?
I can't say that I have not seen it. I haven't seen it, or could I pronounce on it, because I do not know what is happening.
No,
behind.
whether
I
you
don't
see.
know. No,
I
I
asked
don't
you
know.
what you've seen.
I
I've
can't-
asked you what you've seen.
I can't pronounce on that, because, and I'm saying
No,
that
I'm asking
because.
what you've seen.
I'll tell you what I've seen.
Yes.
Go ahead.
What I've seen is deliberate attempts by the government and its spokespersons to give the impression that nothing matters until all of the appeals are heard,
Which is wrong.
which is completely wrong.
But I'm hearing both of you. But while there may be people speaking, you break the law not by speaking, you break the law by your actions. And I could not put my finger on an action on behalf of the government at this time.
Cabinet has said that it's met.
No, it hasn't.
Yes, it has.
But I don't know.
It
that.
has. They have.
When did
Well,
it? Since
No, I'm
Not
aware
since the
of
ruling, but they have said they've met.
well,
They
we
have
haven't
said they've
seen
met.
that. I
They
have
said
not
they've
seen.
met,
So
yes.
what I'm saying, I have not seen.
You know, you get these statements after cabinet meetings. We've had that.
I have not
No.
seen action on behalf.
That-
I heard words that obviously is concerning us, but we have not seen any action.
Would you have liked to see, can the president say, look, yes, I accept, I appreciate that under Article 1066 there is no longer a cabinet, and therefore we will function on
That
a
would
basis.
be to me a responsible thing for our president, who when
And he
he was
hasn't done
sworn in, swore to uphold the,
And he hasn't done it.
Constitution. And to me, that is what we would all want. We would all want to see, and there's no question about that.
I think we covered that ground.
But
I mean,
you've actually said that in your statement, so
I did.
implicitly,
Yeah, we
if not explicitly.
Yes, we've covered that ground.
Now, we've got just about 4.5 minutes, and maybe a little bit more. I think we started 2 minutes late. I am very exact about our time on this program. Where does this take us if by March 21 we
Yes.
have no resolution?
There's absolutely no doubt at all, and cannot be any doubt, that if there is no extension of the 90-day time, and if no election is held within that time, then the government becomes illegal.
That's an extreme situation.
But that's a fact. And that is a situation that the business community will do everything it can to make sure it does not happen.
How does the you're chairman of the committee, the governance committee. How does the private sector commission, which stands for law and order, and of course meaning respect for the how does it deal with a government that has become illegal after March 21?
You asked Jerry
Yeah,
an impossible question.
Because we have never had to do it.
No, that's not the
No,
reason
no,
why
we don't know. We don't know. We really do not
How
know.
would you want to deal with? No, you can't say you
At
don't
thi-
know.
No, at this point in time, we are not expecting that.
Kit
but-
has just said.
No. Kit is saying if it don't happen, but I am not expecting our government
All I've
or
s-
anybody to break the law.
All I've said is that if there's no election by the prescribed time,
Yes, and I've asked.
it's not extended.
We have to start looking ahead to pretend that we don't know now, and we have to see it actually
Well,
happen.
what are the
What
rea-
happens?
A better question to ask is what are the realities if that happens?
Well, that's the reality.
First of all,
How-
the country will be cut off from
No.
all international financing.
That's quite possible, and that's how it should be. No, but I was
And then
asking.
the government will not be able to function effectively.
Well,
It would become almost by rule of force.
A de facto government.
it's an illegal government. It's illegal. So no, my question
Well,
is.
it's not
we
a
got 2
government
minutes.
within the law.
Yes. So how do you deal with a government? And maybe you're not ready to answer that question.
Why don't you tell us?
No,
Chris?
it's not for me. I ask questions here. I don't provide.
But we will
answers.
have to turn. We'll have to turn to our legal people,
I'm
and
sure
we do
you
have
will.
a legal team that guide the private sector commission in our deliberations.
I think a bigger question is not how the private sector will function, how will the nation function.
Yeah.
It's new. It's uncharted waters for us. Personally, I'm expecting our politicians to obey the law
Now,
and to operate within the Constitution.
And we, as I've said before, will do everything within our limited power and within the force of our voices to see that it doesn't happen that way.
this is a moment. This is an occasion, putting country above party and politics. Would you agree that that's where we are now?
Yes.
You know, I will. My last say with this: when I was in Parliament on the 21st and the vote happened, I saw the leader of the opposition got up and reached across the divide and said, "Let's work together." I saw a man who said, "What is before us? We have to bring the benefit of what is before us to all of our people, and to do that, we have to work together." And I'm hoping that our political leaders will work together so that we could truly every Guyanese could really reap the benefit of what is offshore.
I know we all have to be optimistic, but I'll ask you one final question. Are you seeing those signs that this is what is going to happen, as opposed to what is more than likely to happen?
I think is perhaps a little early to speculate on signs. Both sides are grandstanding, as all politicians do. Both sides are exercising their options, but both sides will have to come to their senses very, very quickly.
And what role does the Private Sector Commission have in bringing that?
I believe we bring a voice
about.
of reason to the table, and like Kit said, we have right now we have a message into the president. The civil society and the private sector want to meet. In fact, civil society have sent that in,
Which is bigger than the
which is
private
bigger than the
sector.
private
Yes.
sector. This include the church and the labor and the bar association, all the others. So we are waiting on that. We are going to be meeting with the leader of the opposition. In the meantime, we are meeting with all of the international donor agencies as well, and and all of the diplomatic community. And we are talking. We are all talking and getting ourselves in gear to meet with the political leaders, to urge everybody to obey and work within the confines of the Constitution.
15 seconds to close, Kit.
President Granger and Mr. Jagdeo have the nation's well-being within their hands and within their powers to ensure that the law ultimately is observed and we go forward as a functioning country.
Mr. Kit Nascimento, Captain Gerald Kuvaya, members of the Private Sector Commission, and in fact on the Governance and Security Committee of the Private Sector Commission. Thank you so much for appearing on Plain Talk and for sharing your views and your optimism to the nation. And I hope that our politicians are listening. Operators and viewers, thank you, good night, and I'll see you next week.